Today we've got something really fun. We're going to be going over how to sculpt a beautiful portrait of a child in clay. It's a fun and rewarding process, so stick around and let's get creative. Before we dive in, let's go over some materials. First, grab some clay. I'll be using Chavant Medium NSP clay. It's a plasticine clay and it's reusable, but you can use whatever clay that you prefer. You'll also need some basic sculpting tools, an armature. For this, I'm using a wood board with a metal floor flange attached and then a 1/2-inch metal pipe on top of that. And I like to sculpt on top of this turntable. There's a video that goes over my method for building these turntables using a metal stool. You might be interested in that if you want to build your own sculpting turntable. So let's get our workspace set up and get ready to bring our little portrait sculpture to life. Next, we'll need our references. You can take pictures or a video of the child turning around and then getting pictures from above and below as well. Or ideally, if you can, it's better to sculpt from life. For this sculpture, I let my daughter use the iPad while I work on sculpting her. I'm usually against too much screen time for kiddos, but it really does help them sit still if they're watching something or playing a game. Once we've got our model and our references, let's start shaping the sculpture. I like to follow my 10 steps to portrait sculpting. Just to quickly sum up those steps, it's references, armature, block in, side profile silhouette, bony structure, front view, checking the portrait, working around the sculpture, finishing the details, and texturing. If you're still a beginner or even an intermediate sculptor, then I've found that these steps are really helpful to keep in mind and follow as you're sculpting. For the block in, it's important to get something that provides a basic structure and something symmetrical to build on top of. This will help us maintain proportions and avoid any mishaps later on. I'll be reusing the clay from a previous portrait, so I've just carved away the clay until I have this simplified head shape that tapers towards the front plane of the face. Now it's time to lay in the side profile on top of this block in. With children, the facial mass of the skull is much smaller compared to the cranial mass. It's helpful to align the sculpture with the model to check the accuracy of the side profile. We want this to be as accurate as possible because this side profile will be a key reference point when building out the other features. If the side profile isn't accurate, then those features won't be accurate either. It's time to add in the basic forms of the child's face. With adults, I like to give more of the bony structures underneath, and I'm still doing this to a degree, but remember that in children, the forms are much softer than in adults. Everything is more rounded, and the forms flow into each other more seamlessly. Here I'm focusing on the widest point at the back of the head, the cheeks, and the brow ridge above the eye sockets. I'm building these as if they were walls that have been turned into soft mounds. Building this way helps to keep things symmetrical from side to side. Now I come with additional walls to represent the upper cheeks and the forehead. Then I can lay pancakes of clay on top to combine these walls with the previous ones and start to blend these high points together. I take large chunks of clay to fill in the negative space in areas like in the back of the head to build out that large cranial mass. Think of this as the rough draft. Focus on the major features like the head shape, the cheeks, and the brow ridge while ignoring things like the eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. For now, just the profile indication of these features is enough. Don't worry about the details just yet. We're getting the foundation right. Only once we're satisfied with the structure and shape of the head and face should we start to develop the features. Notice how the nose in children tends to blend much more with the cheeks. The nose itself is a soft, raised hill rather than a cliff or a mountain jutting out from the surface. Notice how I'm trying to build the sculpture from thin to thick. Capturing the soft, organic, pillowy forms of the face is much easier by adding little pieces of clay rather than by carving away the clay with a tool. Now that we have the basic structure, it's time to refine the features. Add pieces of clay to represent the nostrils, the lips, and the chin. We're building these features out from that side profile that we built along the center line of the face. Pay close attention to the details of the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Take your time and remember that it's about capturing the unique qualities of our little model. Add the ears as simple wedge-shaped pieces of clay, shaped like a slice of apple or a section of orange. When building out the features, it helps to be aware of the forms to look for and common rhythms and things like the fat pads of the face. I go over all of these forms and the anatomy and rhythms to look for in each of the facial features in depth in the portrait sculpting course, which you can find at proko.com/portraitsculpt. There's links for that in the description below, as well as links to the figure sculpting course. Our sculpture is taking shape. One of the big visual indicators of the age of the child is the width or the thickness of the neck. Babies have very thin necks compared to their heads. As children grow, their necks thicken, so frequently compare the head size with the thickness and length of the neck, and how the neck transitions to the shoulders. Now let's work around the sculpture from every angle and just try to add clay where it looks like it's missing. For the hair, I add a simple large chunk of clay to be the bun. Maybe the child that you're sculpting has a specific hairstyle. These little details will make your sculpture even better. As I was sculpting this, my daughter pointed out that she looks younger in the sculpture, or as she puts it, I look like a baby. And perhaps I did make the sculpture look a little bit younger than her 6 years. Maybe that's because she's still that little baby in my mind. I wanted to thank Sherry Wing for suggesting this video topic. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see me address other topics in upcoming videos. We're almost there. Just a few more finishing touches to bring our sculpture to life. Smooth out any rough edges and add texture where needed, and make any final adjustments. Here's a pro tip. If you set a specific deadline to finish the sculpture, that can help you work faster and more effectively. Just make sure that you check your sculpture during each stage of the process before moving to the next one. If you give this a try, I'd love it if you'd share your creations with me on social media. You can find me on Instagram at AndrewJosephKeith15. My original Andrew Joseph Keith account was hacked and deleted, so you have to go to the new account that has my name and then a 15 at the end. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. And there you have it, a beautiful portrait of a child, sculpted in clay. Children are a heritage of the Lord. Remember, sculpting is all about making something meaningful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more creative content. Until next time, stay creative, stay productive, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.